JJ Math. Hi guys, so today we're officially going into the deep end of this chapter. We are done with all the new formulas you're going to learn. We did examples of each, and I hope you have an understanding of that now. But now we are getting to the application part. So how do I use those formulas in a combination? And yeah, it gets hairy sometimes, but stay with me, and hopefully by the end of this video and in the practice videos and things, it would start to make a lot of sense. So the first thing I just want to look at is the arithmetic formula. So we're going a little bit back, the TN formulas for arithmetic and then also geometric, because that you need to really understand them to be able to do these questions. So just have a look at what's on screen now. Okay, let's look at the first question. So it says, the 15th and the third terms of an arithmetic sequence are 100 and 28 respectively. Determine the general term. Okay, now you probably read the heading there. This is all about simultaneous equations. So I need to use the info they give me to set up equations so I can use algebra to answer their questions, to answer what they're asking me. Okay, there's very specific ways to do this. Okay, so like you just saw, we are going to use the TN formulas. So if they tell me the 15th term is 100 and the third term is 28, I'm going to say T15 equals 100 and then T3 equals 28. But a different way of writing it would be to say A plus n minus 1, and if n is 15, this would be A plus 14d equals 100, and this one would be A plus 2d equals 28. That would be equation 1, and that would be equation 2. Okay, now I set up my two equations. Now I'm going into simultaneous equations. I'm not going to go over the basics of simultaneous in this video. Please go back to the grade 10 playlist to find simultaneous equations in there if you are not comfortable with it at this stage. In simultaneous equations, we can choose between using the elimination method and the substitution method. So with this sum, because my a value is the same in both equations, the elimination method is going to be a lot easier. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to take equation 1 minus equation 2. So I'm always looking for the one with the biggest d value to put first, and then subtract the smaller one. But if you do it the other way around, you'll just end up with negatives on both sides, just divide by a minus, and you'll get the answer. So in this case, I'm just going to then say A plus 14d equals 100, and I'm subtracting A plus 2d equals 28. So it looks a bit strange that I'm putting a bracket around the whole equation, but it's just for you to see that I'm actually subtracting all three of those columns from each other. So a minus a, 1a minus 1a gives me 0a, so I'm not even going to write an a there. Now, 14d minus 2d gives me 12d, positive, and 100 minus 28 gives me 72. Okay, and then if you remember your 12 times table, as every good matric does, 72 divided by 12 gives me 6. There we go. Now it looks a lot easier because now I know d is 6. To get a, I am just going to sub it into equation 1 or equation 2. Let's just go for equation 2 because it's a bit smaller. So I'm just going to write so that my marker knows exactly what I'm doing. So I'm just going to say sub d into, like I said, you can choose 1 or 2. I'm just choosing 2 for this sum. Okay, so I'm going to just sub in the 6 into the place of d. So a plus 2 times 6 equals 28. And then I'm just going to subtract and I get my a value. So a is equal to 28 minus 12 is going to give me 16. Perfect. Now I have a, I have d. Now you always need to just read and make sure you answer their question. So many students lose their marks because they don't answer the question. Please don't be one of them. Determine the general term. This is an arithmetic sequence, so general term, Tn equals a plus n minus 1d. So the general term would be 16 plus n minus 1 times 6. So that would be 6n, and then 16 minus 6 gives me 10. There we go. Example 2. If the seventh term of an arithmetic series is minus 4, and the sum of the first 16 terms is 24, determine the first term and the constant difference of the series. Okay, so already there, it's starting to get a lot more tricky, and you really need to concentrate what they're saying. Okay, so I'm going to break this down into sections. So the first thing I can see is the seventh term is minus 4, so that's extremely important. And then the sum of the first 16 is 24. So those parts go together. Let's write it in algebra terms. So the seventh term, we already saw that that would be, okay, so let's just write it out as it's stated on the paper, and then we're going to algebraize it. Okay, T7 is equal to negative 4, and then the sum of the first 16 is 24, so S16 equals 24. Okay, so it's very easy to write T7 in terms of algebra, so I can just say A plus 7 minus 1 gives me a 6 is equal to minus 4. Okay, perfect. But now I need to write the S16. There's no easy way to do it. So just take the formula that you have on your formula sheet. So we're going to do n over 2 because it's arithmetic. 2a plus n minus 1 in a bracket d. And then just sub it in there. Okay. So if I go for this, this would be a 24 equals, they tell me it's 16 terms. So 16 over 2. I don't know what a is. I know n is 16. So 16 minus 1 gives me 15. I don't know what d is. Okay, just to simplify this a little bit, 16 divided by 2 is 8. Okay, so 24 divided by 8 gives me 3. Okay, so those are my two equations. You will notice immediately the one equation has a 1a, the other one has a 2a. So now you need to decide what type of simultaneous equation you want to do. Elimination would be possible with this one. I just need to take the first equation and double it. Okay, so that's completely fine if you want to do that. But just to be complete and show you that it works either way, I'm going to do the substitution method. So if I go substitution, I can say I want a alone on this case. So I'm going to say minus 6d minus 4. That is going to be my equation 1. That is going to be my equation 2. And then I'm doing substitution, so I'm just going to write what I am doing. So sub 1 into 2. Okay, so 3 is equal to 2. I'm replacing the a, so I'm taking the equation I got there, and I'm going to replace it in there. So minus 6d minus 4 plus 15d. Now I need to get d, solve for d. First thing, I'm going to distribute into the bracket. So minus 12d minus 8 plus 15d. My biggest d is on the right, so I'm just going to keep them, and I'm going to move the 8. So 3 plus 8 is going to give me 11, and then this is going to be 3d. Therefore, d would be equal to 11 over 3. It's not a nice answer, but it's an answer, so I need to go with it. I know my algebra is correct, so this must be the answer. Now I just need to get a. So the question was get the constant difference and get the first term. I got the constant difference. I can now just get the first term, and equation 1 will directly give me a. So I'm just going to then say a should be equal to minus 6, 11 over 3, minus 4. By solving this equation, I can then see the answer is going to be a is equal to minus 26. And there you solved the question. Example 3. The previous two was arithmetic. Example 3 is now going into geometric. So now we are going to use the other formulas, not a plus something d. Now it's going to be ar to the power of something. So they're telling me T9 is equal to 80 and T6 is equal to 10. Okay, I need to write this in algebra so I can solve the equations. So T9 I can rewrite as a times r to the power n minus 1. If n is 9, then that would be an 8. Okay, T6 I can then rewrite as AR to the power 5 is equal to 10. Okay, there is equation 1, there is equation 2. So you can go substitution method with this sum. It's going to give you ugly fractions, and many people avoid fractions at all costs. So I would say do elimination. But this is a new type of elimination that you're not very familiar with at this stage. So let's have a look at it. Instead of now minusing the two equations from each other, I can actually divide the two equations from one another. So I'm going to tell the marker that I'm going to say equation 1 divided by equation 2. Always take the biggest one to be first. So r to the power 8 is bigger than r to the power 5. That's why I'm choosing that one first. So I'm going to say a times r8 equals 80. And then I'm going to divide each section by its corresponding term. So AR5 is equal to 10. And if I do that, the A's cancel each other. Exponent rules. I am going to, if you divide similar bases, you subtract exponents. So R8 divided by R5 is going to give me R3. And then 8 divided by 10, sorry, 8t divided by 10 is going to give me 8. Cube root both sides, so R is equal to 2. There we go. If you use substitution, you would sit with a massive algebra sum at this stage. It's going to be possible, but the room for error is too great. So I would really advise do the elimination method and make sure you're comfortable with that way before you're going into the exam room. Okay, the question was to get the first term and the constant ratio. I now got the constant ratio. Let's get the first term. So I'm going to choose any of my equations. The second one seems a bit smaller, so just going to say sub r into 2. Okay, a times 2 to the power 5 is equal to 10. I know 2 to the power 5 is 32, so then a is 10 over 32. If you typed it in the calculator, it would say it's 5 over 16. There we go. That's question A solved. Find the number of terms if the last term is 5,120. Okay, so you will notice last term, but unfortunately, the formula for last term that some of you might remember now is only for arithmetic SN sequences. Okay, so don't let your brain go there. This is just basically they're asking me, they're giving me Tn, they just want to know n. But before I can do that, I need to find the Tn formula. Now, geometric, remember the formula that we're using is going to be Tn equals a times r to the power n minus 1. Now, they gave me the value, so I'm going to write the value there. I know a is 5 over 16, and I know r is just going to be 2 to the power n minus 1. Okay, now it's an algebra sum. You just want to solve for n. First thing, I'm going to divide both sides by 5 over 16. My calculator tells me this answer is 16384. And now I can just use the shift fact function on my calculator. And it tells me this is 2 to the power 14. And therefore n is equal to 14 plus 1. N is equal to 15. Find the number of terms. If the last term is 5,120, there are 15 terms if that is the last term.
If this video helped you, please like and subscribe.
JJ Math.